Good evening, Ananth sir. Are you here?
Good evening, Gaurav. Very much here.
Sir. I wanted to introduce Ananth sir with you, students. Ananth sir have like 20 years of experience in teaching to the students, and he's a alumni.
Good evening, Ananth sir. Are you here? Good evening, Gaurav. Very much.
Okay. He is an alumni of XLRI Jamshedpur, and today he is going to take your class on group discussion. I'll give you some introduction about the group discussion, how you guys have to behave while doing group discussion and all of that. Good evening once again. Good evening, Anand sir. Can we start the class, sir?
Yes, Gaurav, I can.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
evening, sir.
Hey guys, very good evening. I guess I'm audible as well as visible to all.
Yes, sir.
Giving my hand, so presuming that all of you are there. Right, great. So I believe this is post your game of writing this NIFT exam, and now you are now getting into the second innings of it, right? Great. So how do you feel?
Great to be here, sir.
Okay, that's nice. So as they say, right, a mountain that's half climbed is only half achieved. This is you are in such a situation now that you shouldn't be getting anything wrong. Okay. I mean, if you had got something wrong during your NIFT exam, it was okay because you wouldn't have got shortlisted. उतना बुरा नहीं लगता, right? But shortlist होने के बाद जब पता कट जाए तो बहुत ज़्यादा बुरा लगेगा. So this is a place where you have to give your 100%, nothing less than 100%. You cannot sit in an assumption that someone else is going to do an error for which you will get marks. Okay.
Right.
So so GDPI is, that's why considered to be one of the most important ingredient in a selection process, and it's kept by most of the top-notch colleges, universities across the globe, because of the fact that this is one place where people cannot guess. Before this, whatever round you did, there were a lot of chances of you guessing anything, right? You could guess something, you could get them right, you could get shortlisted, and you are in the second round. But in the second round, you cannot guess. You have to perform what you are. You have to give what you are. And that's a reality. People can watch you live, people can talk to you live, people can see what you have achieved over the period of time, what you are able to provide, or what are you going to do in the next couple of years or in your career. And that's what is going to matter, and that's why this round is kept. Okay, so you will listen to a lot of versions around what is a group discussion and personal interview. Some of them say that GDPI is just a selection criteria. Some of them say that it's a rejection criteria. Some of them say that it's a combination of two, right? But what I believe is a GDPI is more to do with a knowing criteria. It is neither to do with the selection or a rejection. It is about knowing a person. Okay. If I know about you, then I will make you go through. But if I do not have a clarity about what you are, what you have been, and what you want to be, then there is no way you get shortlisted. जो अंधेरे में है वो अंधेरे में ही रहेगा types, है ना? So this is that kind of an area. So that's why the weightage of a GDPI is also huge, and thus it's very important that you take this quite seriously. You do the task that we ask you to do almost on a daily basis. You read a lot. In fact, you read more than you would have read for a NIFT exam. Okay, because while you're writing a NIFT exam, you know that there is a paper in front of you and you know what your knowledge you possess. But when a GDPI, it is not about the knowledge that you alone possess. It is the knowledge about what others also carry on. So you should have either a different knowledge criteria or you should have more knowledge than the others. So this is not about me scaring you. Okay, it's one of the most easiest rounds to clear if you know what you have to do. And one of the most difficult rounds to clear agar clarity hi nahi hai ki karna kya. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Yes,
Great.
sir.
Great.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
So before I start a GD or the process that I want to tell you how I'm going to take it across. So I'm going to talk about what group discussion today is. That's all. Okay. I'm not going to talk about anything. I'm not going to make you do a GD. Nothing. I'm going to talk about what GD is. What are the parameters in which people will measure you? What are the challenges you will face in a round of a GD? Right? What are the main questions that people get in mind before they enter a group discussion forum? And so we are going to talk about it. Okay. Then we will do another session where we will talk about interviews and the introduction to interviews. Why is interview done? What is the main purpose of doing an interview? Right? What are the various parameters on which they give you marks for an interview? Right? What you should keep in mind? What you should be having a clarity on? Right? How much important my past is, and what is more important, whether my past or whether my future or whether my present. So we are going to cover that in our interview process. Post that is when we are going to do lines of mock group discussion. Okay, so that each one of you are involved. So now if I see there are 38 people, I will not be doing a mock GD for 38 people. I will select 10 people, do a mock GD. Then select 10 more people, do a mock GD. Then select 10 more people and do a mock GD, and so on and so forth. Right? So ideally, I feel that one individual person should go through at least 5 mock GDs minimum. Okay, before they actually enter a real-time mock group discussion, a real-time group discussion. कम से कम 5 GD आपके पास में हो जाना चाहिए एक्सपीरियंस. ठीक है, और पांचों के पांचों का GD जो है वो अलग स्टाइल्स के होने चाहिए, एक ही स्टाइल का नहीं. Because a group discussion is not about what happens. It is what is the purpose of me conducting the GD, what is the criteria on which I'm assessing you. That matters most. If you read books on GDs, you will get a lot of information, but they are all informations which you can only build on theory, not on practical. So today, so now in this sessions, we will start doing practical examples of it. Okay, great. Right. Can anyone raise hand if you have done GD earlier? So Anushka is there. Keep your hands raised, please, if you can. So Anushka is the only person here. Anyone else? बाकी लोगों का वीडियो क्यों नहीं दिख रहा मुझे? People, can you switch on your videos, please? It's very important. Vidisha, Mahima, Swantika, Ashwini, right? So this is a dominated woman gang with Mr. Warrior, single lone warrior around. I guess there is one more. Kaya, Sanskar. Warrior and Sanskar. Others, can you please switch on your video? I need to see. The purpose behind me seeing it's not admiring you. Don't worry. It's about seeing the purpose. The purpose is because the name cannot tell me the gender. It's so confusing nowadays. Right, देखो आदि बैठा हुआ है. मेरे को तो मालूम ही नहीं था कि there is a third guy around. Great. Saumya and Neha. All right. Now Anushka has raised her hand. Is there anyone else who has done GD before, group discussion before? No, not in my first frame. How about the second frame? Keep your hands raised if you have done it. रुचि, आपका हाथ ऊपर है कि आप सपोर्ट कर रहे हो? अच्छा, सपोर्ट कर रहे हो. Okay. How about Saumya? You've done a GD before? Okay, no. All right. So, so Anushka, why not we begin with you? You're the sole experienced person here, right? So, which means that you have an added advantage over the others, straightforward, cutthroat advantage over the others. Okay. So, Anushka, what is your experience of a GD? What have you felt when you have done a GD?
Well, it was part of my curriculum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
So it was part of my curriculum. I've done BBA, and we would have a lot of GDs and presentations and whatnot because it's a program of business administration.
Okay.
Communication skills and presentation skills was the core of the course that I took. So we went through a lot of GDs. To be honest, it's not hard. It's all about it's not about being right all the time. It's about showing off your leadership skills, being cooperative with every member of the group. And in fact, there are a lot of people who do not speak much. They are shy and they are confident enough, or we can say. So
Right.
your role there is to actually involve them as well. That shows the examiner, whoever is taking notes, shows that you are actually concerned about every member's opinion, not only yours. You're not self-centered. So that's a
Right.
plus point. And I mean, in general, I'm pretty confident. I don't struggle with that. I mean, I'm here for the content. My content should be rich. That's I'm really focused for, because again, I just said that it's not a guessing game. Anything can come up to you in the GD round in NIFT, and you have to be ready. So we cannot guess about the topic. That okay, I'm guessing, and I guess I can say that. So
Right.
it's all the content should be good, and just because you want to show off that you're confident, you cannot speak anything that comes to your mind. You can actually
Right.
be accepted. If you know that you don't know anything, it's fine to accept it in front of the members of the group discussion, and actually let them know that I'm not aware of the topic, but they will also help you. So it's not scary, in my opinion. It's just a bunch of people who have certain knowledge and come together. They speak about certain things and they come to a conclusion. That yes, this is the conclusion that we all are agreeing upon. So that's all the GD, in my opinion, is.
That's right, Anushka. So you are more or less there. You're very much there. Maybe in some places we may have to tweak it a bit, but otherwise 90% I see that you are there with what a GD requirement is. So so as you know, Anushka said, that's the first thing that you probably have to know, that GD is about what not only what I provide as a content, but what I can make the entire group come out with in a discussion forum. Okay, which directly leads us to one aspect, that GD is not debate. So there is nothing like right and wrong. There is nothing right, I will speak for and against. There is nothing like one-sided arguments. Okay, they are completely supposed to be a discussion. And how do you find a discussion? So for example, if I ask someone, how do you describe a 1 rupee coin? What are you going to talk about it? You're going to talk not only the shape of the coin, you're going to talk about the two sides of it. You're going to talk about the value it creates, right? You probably will start from the origin of a coin and how it has evolved. But you will not just talk about, the head side of the coin or just the tail side of the coin. So you're going to talk about the entire thing about it. So that's the discussion. When any problem, any topic is given, the main aspect is talking the complete picture of the topic. So that's one important aspect that you guys have to remember, is whenever you are thinking on a topic, do not think as taking you as yourself. So let's assume this. I give a topic on, let's say, should India declare war on the neighboring country? Now, this discussion shouldn't be from the point of view as an Indian, because then I'm limiting myself into the visual or the viewpoint of any other country. Okay? Should there be an equality in a job, gender equality in job? Now, what will happen here is, except the three of the guys here, the rest all will start talking about the woman empowerment, because you are looking into that kind of agenda. But you have to ensure that when you're talking, you're not supposed to bring gender, nationality, age, right, qualification into picture. You have to look into the overall aspect and give the overall point of view. I hope you are able to understand this. The day when you bring yourself into the picture, you're limiting the information. You're limiting your understanding. You got to leave out that picture and come across. So if I'm talking about, let's say, India-US relationship, I should not only talk like an Indian, I should also talk like a citizen of US. And apart from that, I also have to talk like a citizen of China, for whom probably US is being the biggest effect. And maybe a citizen of Canada, for whom US is being the biggest neighbor and the best friend. So I will have to look into all aspects while discussing one topic. And that's the core idea here. Okay. So I'll share a screen, because I do not want this to be a talk where I keep talking and you just listen to it. So I'm going to share a screen here where we will talk about what a GD is and how it's going to go. And you're free to unmute and ask questions and queries at any point of time. Okay, don't feel don't stop yourself. And Anushka, you're free to put or negate any point that I place. Okay, based on your past experience. Well, the others can negate any point. If you have any doubts, you can add any point if you have anything that you want to add. But don't be silent, because GD is not about silence. Okay. Right. So first is, let's know what we are learning today. We are learning the GD and the concepts. We are looking at the psychologist's perspective in a group discussion, and we'll probably go through certain FAQs, right? The frequently asked questions that we have. You do not have to make notes of this, because I believe that, as Gaurav said, we are putting it on live on YouTube, so you can always revisit YouTube and revise this. Now, what's a GD, and what's the purpose of a GD? Typically, if I look at an aptitude exam, it shows your decision-making skill, because you have to solve 100 questions in 50 minutes or 60 minutes. It's nothing but a decision-making skill. Okay. Though, yes, it is testing your ability in certain parameters of the exam, but ultimately it's your decision making, right? So, for example, when you read a question under the creative aptitude test, did you all make the same figure? No, you would have created something different, right? How did that difference came? Because that was based on your decision of what stress level you were into, what pressure of environment you were into, how much time limit you had, what kind of a backup experience you had earlier, how much practice you did in what area. So based on all these things, you made a decision and you drew something. That was about decision-making skills. So every aptitude test that was given to you was to measure your decision-making skill. What's an interview? Interview is a process where an individual tries to know the other individual. Okay? So I will try to know you as an individual, you as a person. But to know you as a person who works in a group, in a team, because once you start working in life, you never work alone. You are never alone. You always work in a team. So if I have to see how you perform inside a team, the only thing I can do is make you part of a group discussion. That's where your real character, persistence, patience, everything comes into picture. So that's the purpose of doing a GD. Now in a GD, there are lots, right? So there are lots. There's elements, there are parameters to evaluate, and then the types of GD itself differs. So let's understand what is a GD, right? A GD is where a topic is given People discuss on it, exchange ideas, bring thoughts, bring facts and figures to prove the ideas, right? And they ensure that this entire discussion happens in a certain time limit. Otherwise, if that is kept open, the discussion can happen for days. So a certain time limit, which means that it tries to bring out, according to you, what is your priority while discussing a topic. What are your priorities is what comes out within the time limit. Because if I look into this, look at point number 2 and point number 3. Point number 2 says that participants vary between 8 to 15 and time varies between 8 to 15 minutes. What does my math say? That I get 1 minute per participant, right? Which means that I have to ensure that in 1 minute I should know what all I should speak. And not only that, how should I speak? Because if I start doing a storytelling, in 1 minute, I will not cover even a single character. So it's important of me to know what I speak, when I speak, and how do I speak. Okay? So why is it conducted? Yes, it helps to form an opinion of how you work as a group, and how do you put across your pointers? How do you work as Anushka said? How do you showcase your leadership skill? How do you encourage your group members to come out with their point of views, right? And these things cannot be done through interviews or through aptitude exams. So that's why the GDs are conducted, right? Now, what kind of GDs are provided? So this is one thing that you can never anticipate in a group discussion. You may have a panelist who's crazy. A crazy panelist will end up giving you an abstract GD. Abstract GD ka matlab ye hota hai. I'll give you a topic and you have to talk on it. And the topic is red is red, blue is blue. Karo baat. Okay? The topic is zero. Karo baat. These are abstract topics. Where there is no life to it, you have to talk and bring life to it. Okay, so if I say something like red is red, green is green, talk about it. Now, some people may bring traffic rules into picture. It doesn't make difference, right? Because it's an abstract, you got to bring life into it. So some people may speak of traffic rules into picture. So the road safety series that's going on currently by an academy, right? Or the road, the laws for the for road safeties and so on and so forth. So you can talk about it. Red and green also talks about concrete jungle with forest. So you can bring deforestation into picture, right? So there are a lot of things that you can bring. That's the beauty of abstract. People get scared that abstract de diya kya baat karenge. The best part is tum bahut kuch baat kar sakte ho. Because all you have to do is put a life into it. So you can have structured topic where you know exactly what the topic is, you know exactly what the topic is going to talk about. So let's say the topic is Indian political system. So you know what you're going to talk, right? You're going to talk about Indian politics. Let's say Delhi pollution. So you know exactly what you're going to talk. So there are structured topics, okay, where the GD is about a specific topic is given, then you are given certain time to think about that topic, then you are given certain time to discuss about the topic, and after certain minutes, let's say 8 to 10 minutes, the group is said, okay, why don't you summarize the topic? Or I may pick someone and ask you to summarize the topic. So it can be structured. The second one can be unstructured. Unstructured topics can vary heavily. Now, unstructured GDs and unstructured topics are two different things. Okay, unstructured GD is where the method in which I conduct the GD may vary. See, for example, in a structured GD, what happens is, let's assume that I take I am able to see around few people on my screen, so I'll take their names. Let's say Urvashi, Kratika, Pratiksha, Ruchi, Anushka, Swantika. They are in the GD. Okay. Structured GDs, I'll give the topic. I'll say, speak on this topic. Okay. For example, a billion plus population in India, boon or a bane. Now, it's a very, very structured topic. It's a topic which you know that you're talking about population, you're talking about Indian population, and you're talking about a boon or a bane. That is the advantage or a disadvantage part, right? So it's very clear, right? I may say, okay, let's put it this way: online learning, global online learning, growing at 20% CAGR. Now, I know that I'm talking about online learning platforms, but I'm not limiting myself to the country. I'm moving to the global area. Okay. And I'm talking about the growth. Fair enough. No issues. So these are structured. So I've given this topic. I've asked people to start. The unstructured GDs are where I give you the same topic. And then I'll say, starting from Urvashi, each one of you will speak for 1 minute. Okay. So Urvashi will speak for 1 minute. Then Kratika will speak for 1 minute. Pratiksha will speak for a minute. Anushka will speak for a minute. Swantika will speak for a minute. And then I'll say the GD is now open. Now what happened? 1 minute में तुम्हें जितना बोलना था सब बोल दिया. अब GD खुल गया. अब क्या बात करोगे? समझ में आ रहा है? The entire chapter जो तुमने फाइल में चिट्ठी बना के रखी थी ना, मतलब ये ऐसा हो गया कि एग्जाम का पर्ची तुमने जो बनाया था वो बाजू वाले को दे दिया पहला क्वेश्चन बना के. अब बचा हुआ क्वेश्चन के लिए पर्ची नहीं है क्योंकि सब हो गया ना 1 मिनट में खत्म कहानी. So in an unstructured GD, it's very important that I decide what should I speak in the first minute and what should I say for the rest. Very, very important for me. Okay? Because अगर ये नहीं हुआ तो मान लो मेरे पास 4 अच्छे पॉइंट्स है बताने के लिए, मैंने चारों पॉइंट 1 मिनट में बता दिया, उसके बाद क्या करूंगा भाई मैं? Did you able to get a clarity on this, right? So you got to look into what you show plus what you hide. Okay, so that's possible. Second, unstructured GD. Okay, and this is crazy. Well, just cross your fingers that such GDs doesn't happen. Okay, because most of the people who are going to talk about GD would have never come across such GDs. Okay, so the topic is given to you. Okay. 1+ billion Indian population, boon or a bane. I ask Urvashi, please start this topic. I mean, I'm just giving an example, Urvashi. Don't crumble under pressure. Okay, so I say, Urvashi, please start the topic. You have 30 seconds to talk. So Urvashi is talking about the topic, okay? On the topic. And suddenly after 30 seconds, I say, Anushka, can you debate Urvashi? And then I'll say whatever Anushka has debated Urvashi, right? And then I'll say, Pratiksha, can you add to Anushka's point? So what is happening? You do not know what role you have to play. Okay? Which means you have to cater to 2 areas. One, you not only have to create your content simultaneously, you have to be a very good listener at the same time. Because if you do not know what the other guy is speaking, तुम्हें मालूम ही नहीं होगा तुम्हें content क्या करना है. Right? And the third most important, which Anushka said, what if I do not understand, what if I do not have content for the topic? Now what will I debate or what will I oppose Urvashi for? जब मुझे content ही नहीं मालूम कि क्या हो रहा. So I should be smart enough to capture the content, gather the content in 30 seconds of what Urvashi speaks. Okay? This happens. I'm not saying this GD never happens. This happens. But most often not. But that doesn't mean that I will not make you prepared for it. Okay, I will make you grill through all kinds of GDs that I have done, given, and taken in the last 20 years. Okay, few things. There are, you would have heard that GDs are for 10 minutes to 15 minutes. Great. I have done GD for 45 minutes also. Okay, which you will go through. So content 45 minutes के लिए रखना है तुम्हें. Done. So it's a very interesting. GD is one of the most interesting place to be in. Now, special GDs are something that you will rarely get, which is based on case studies. You will be given a problem, and you'll get enough time to read the problem and think about your idea or solution or discussion, and then you discuss about it. So that's a different game plan. We will also touch that, but that's something that I'm assuming it's not going to be working out for most of you. Okay, just a minute, guys. Okay, sorry. Now, and role plays is again something that probably I wouldn't touch base right now. Now let's look into the parameters of the evaluation. Content, the what or matter spoken is one of the most important part. Okay. Second most important part is the process. How, when, and why it is spoken. You may have a lot of content, but if you do not know when to speak, that content is of no use. And the vice versa also. Remember I said, we started by making a statement that if it is 10 people for 10 minutes, my math says that each person will have 1 minute to speak. Do you think speaking for 1 minute is difficult? No, right? Tell me about yourself itself, it can be spoken for a minute. Speaking for 1 minute is not difficult. But getting that minute within those 10 minutes is the most difficult part. So what we usually do is, we usually break this 1 minute into 3 or 4 parts of 15 or 20 seconds packet. 15 seconds to 20 seconds packet. Why do we do this? Is because if there is a topic which I can speak for, let's say in the first 15 seconds, I can put the idea of the topic onto the playground, onto the forum. तो मैं गारंटी है कि कोई ना कोई उस टॉपिक के बारे में और ज्यादा बात करेगा. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? If I talk everything, if I try to finish that topic or my point in 15 seconds, then others are going to only talk something new. But if I start the point and place it on your discussion forum in such a way that I keep it open-ended, तो दूसरा जो भी next वाला जो भी बात करेगा ना, वो उसको add करेगा. So my point will always be alive. So more often it's my point that's being discussed by us. But please understand, the same thing is going to happen even with you. When you're putting your point, I will discuss more about it. That's how a discussion has to be. It's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. It's as simple as that. Okay? So how, when, and why it is spoken is equally important. Now, the weightage of it, both of them, the content and the process, is equally distributed. It has to be 50-50. You have to give both importance of what you're speaking and when you're speaking. Okay. Now, coming to parameters of evaluation. The first parameter that is being evaluated, especially in a GD, is the quality of content. There is no deny to this. अगर आपके पास content नहीं है, you will never be able to come out with flying colors in a GD. No matter how good a speaker you are, no matter how good your communication is, no matter how friendly you are. If you do not have a content, you will never ever come out of a GD successfully. The next one is behavioral and personality skills. How you behave in a group is equally important. You would have seen this. Okay, frankly speaking, it was only Anushka who raised her hand on a GD. Okay, so it's only Anushka who raised her hand for GD, but trust me, all of you have done a group discussion earlier in life. Even if it is about कौन सा खाना खाना है, कौन से रेस्टोरेंट में जाके खाना खाना है, कौन सा मूवी देखना है, these are all nothing but a GD. Okay, and now I'll make you think of situations. Imagine a situation in your life when you have been talking to a couple of group of friends and you saw that only 2 or 3 people are listening to you, whereas 1 or 2 people are looking somewhere else. ऐसा situation कभी तुम्हारे साथ हुआ है? अगर नहीं है तो भाई तुम अलग ही दुनिया से हुआ है? Yes.
Yes, sir.
बहुत
Yes,
बार
yes,
होता है, सबके साथ होता है.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You will be in one or the other situation जब तुम अपने बारे में या तुम कुछ बात कर रहे हो, तुम्हारे पास 7-8 लोग हैं, तुम्हारे ही दोस्त हैं, ठीक है, जिसमें से 2-3 लोग तुम्हें सुन रहे हैं, लेकिन बाकी लोग तुम्हें सुन ही नहीं रहे. They are seeing something else or they are discussing something else. Okay. This. Keep learning. Who's this? Okay. Right. So that's actually going to go against you. As people say, it is not about what you do. It is also about what you speak. It is also about how you behave in the group when others are speaking. So your behavior, your facial expressions, your eyebrows expression, your eyes expressions, your hand movements, they are very important. Okay, people have this habit of playing with pen ka cap se khelna, right? Pen ke cap se khelna, paper mein scribble karna jab koi baat kar raha hoga. You know, drawing something. I mean, you guys are all into, you love drawing. That's why you have written NIFT exam. Now imagine a GD you're drawing on a paper when someone is discussing. Okay, your biggest strength is going to be your biggest enemy. So some places you have to have your behavioral and personality traits connected. So that's another parameter, that's it. Obviously, the communication skill is important. But you got to understand, all of you, please understand this. Communication skill is not English. It is not English. It is about how easily I can put my idea through words. It's as simple as that. How easily can I put my idea through words so that the other person also understands it. So anyone less than 18 years here? Can you unmute and speak if you are less than 18? No, all of you greater than 18? Great.
Yes, sir.
Good. I'll give an example because you guys are now adults. I can take this example. Now imagine that I tell one statement to you all that in the nearby room, there is a guy and a girl talking. Sounds normal? No problem? Yeah. You know what? In the nearby room, there is a girl and a guy. And you know what they're doing? They're talking. Sounds suspicious? Sounds different.
Yes, sir.
The communication skill is not about what words you use. It's about how you portray your idea into words and sends the same message that you want to send to the opponent. Okay, because he has to understand, he or she has to understand what you want to convey and not take it negatively. Okay, why is important? Not necessary that, let's say Sanskar is talking. Okay, Sanskar is the, let's assume that Sanskar is the only guy out of 9 girls and 1 guy, right? And he's talking. Unfortunately, the biggest problem for him will be that first of all, he'll not get much time to talk. ठीक है? In a group of 10, जहाँ पे 9 लड़कियां और 1 संस्कार बैठा होगा, संस्कार is the guy here, right? उसको टाइम, उसको अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं मिलेगा बात करने के लिए, ठीक है? अगर मिला भी, he has to utilize that. So he has to make statements. So when you're, for example, why is it important? Because not always I will agree with whatever anyone says. Not always I'll agree with whatever anyone says. But means that when I'm not agreeing, I have to disagree. But disagreeing doesn't mean that you're wrong. Disagreeing means that I have a different point of view. So now there are 2 ways to say that. So let's say Mahima is making a point and I don't agree with Mahima. So I can say 2 ways. Mahima, I have a different point of view, or Mahima, I disagree with you. Which one sounds good?
First one.
The first one.
First one.
Mahima, I have a different point of view.
Yes, sir.
Because then I will ensure that Mahima also listens to me. If I
Yes,
directly
sir.
say, Mahima, I disagree with you, I'm directly hitting on her ego. Okay, so you cannot do that. Okay, so you got to ensure that your communication skill is not about English, but the message you spend. But saying that, you cannot take a GD in any language you like. Okay, just because you are taking a group discussion, let's say in Karnataka, Bangalore, doesn't mean that you start speaking in Kannada. Or you're taking GD in Bengal, you start taking GD in Bengali. No, group discussion have to be in English. But as I said, how good your English is doesn't matter. Okay, you have to communicate using English. Yes, you can use couple of other language words, but the other language should be known to everyone in the group. And trust me, guys, assuming that everyone knows Hindi is the biggest mistake we do.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
there are lots of people, especially in a NIFT exam or a NIFT GD, you will find a lot of people from places like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, right? Interiors of Karnataka, interiors of Andhra and Telangana. Because these are the major places where you will not find hardcore Hindi lovers. Okay. And using languages which is not supporting Hindi or understanding, making people understand Hindi, that's not going to be right from your part. So you got to avoid that. So English is the only language that you should always speak in. Right? Moving on, guys. Otherwise, I'll take a lot. If you give a time for me to talk on GD, no, I'll keep talking for the entire night. Okay. Now, quality of content, right? The weightage is heavy here, as I said. How do you comprehend the core idea that you have? How do you structure and how do you direct this idea? That's very important. How do you analyze the topic? What is the relevance of your contribution? So when I'm talking about something, I have to be very important in 2 things. Number 1, how relevant is that information to the topic? Number 1. Number 2, how relevant is the information to the ongoing discussion? Ongoing, there is some discussion happening, right? I cannot bring an outside information which is not relevant and talking about something else. Okay? It's going to only deviate this entire discussion into a different line of path. So relevance of the contribution is also important. What is the reasoning behind your views? Whenever we give any kind of a viewpoint, it's important that we give the reason behind our viewpoints. And if it can be backed up with real life examples, which we usually say is facts and figures, then it's a great thing to do. But not necessary. If you do not have facts and figures, it's still okay. Okay? And thus, these are the main parameters in which the quality of content is segregated. So before I proceed to the next one, which is the prep model. Okay, prep model, I'll come and then I'll say. So how do I bring into the quality of content? How do I ensure that the flow or the structure in which I'm talking is perfect? So I always follow something called as a prep model. Prep model is when I make a point that I want to speak up, right? Now, after that point, I tell the reason why I'm placing this point. So, for example, if I'm agreeing to something that Pratiksha says, I just cannot say, okay, I agree to what Pratiksha says. I have to make a point, and I have to give a reason behind making that point. Okay, so I can say, okay, 1.4 lakh, 4 billion population of India is a combination of a boon and a bane. Now I cannot stop here. I have to give a reason behind it. Okay, I have to give a reason why I consider it to be a boon, because that means that I have young people in the country. It's a youngest country in the world, which means my capacity to work is much higher and faster compared to any other country in the world. But that also states that there is a high portion of below poverty level coming into it. High portion of unemployment coming into it. So you have to give a reason behind it. And just the reason is not fine. If you have an example. So if I say, okay, below poverty line is growing by this much percentage annually. Right? So if I have an example towards it, it adds more value to whatever point I made. So out of these three, this is a must. This again is a must. This is add-on. Means if someone doesn't have an example, it's still okay. But you just cannot put a point and leave it, because it will never ever satisfy the listener's requirement. So only when I do a point, reason, and example, that's when I bring the next point. Till then, I will not bring the next point. Next point to discuss. Okay? This is how you ensure that your 1 minute, 5 minutes, whatever the amount size of time that you are going to talk, it is spread across. So we usually to generate content, we also use something called as, I hope this is going to be helpful for you. We use something called as KWA. Okay. WAP and spelt. I think Anushka would be knowing about this. KWA is typically known as keyword analysis. Any topic talks about certain keywords. Every topic talks about keywords. Analyze those keywords. 1.1+ billion Indian population. What's my keyword? Indian population and 1 billion plus. These are my keywords. Analyze them. So how would you break up your Indian population as? Right? You can now break up as NRIs also. You can break up as Indian citizens residing in India, Indian citizens residing outside. Right? You can break it up as, below 18, above 18, citizens, senior citizens. You can break it up. So each word can give you a lot of information in itself. That information itself is enough for you to talk. Okay? We have VAP. What is VAP? VAP is viewpoint of affected parties. For example, TikTok ban should be removed. Let's say this is the topic. Now, there are people who have been affected because of it, right? There are people who like it. There are people who have been affected. Who are the people who have been affected? There are lots of people who make a living out of TikTok. Their lives have been affected. So you may be a person who says that, okay, TikTok shouldn't be, resumed. It has to be banned continuously. But you're not thinking from the point of view of people whose livelihood is dependent on TikTok. So it's important that you also look into the viewpoint of affected parties. And once that is done, then we look into these 5 categories. The socio-economic impact, the political impact, the economical impact, the legal impact, and the technological impact. For anything that you do, look at, does your point has an impact on any of these? Because if you say something has to be stopped, there should be some impact on somewhere, right? Either a socio-economic impact will happen because of certain hitting on revenues. Either it will be happening on a political note, either on the economical note, or legally not possible, or technologically not possible. So there are a lot of things that you basically look into it. So frankly speaking, if you follow these, the KWA, the VAP, and the SPELT, trust me guys, you generate enough content to speak for more than 5 minutes. And we are still talking about 1 minute of coverage. In fact, maximum 2 minutes, because if someone else is not talking, I will also take up their time. Okay? So that's one. Now, parameter 2, the behavioral and personality skills. The attitude matters. The team membership, as Anushka said, the more I have team members who are shy to speak, who are unable to speak, I give them the opportunity to speak and thus be part of, the group discussion, the team. So your team membership, your participation, your assertion versus accommodation. Okay, whether you rebel someone's statement or you try to accommodate and understand their point of view. Usually what happens is when someone doesn't agree with us, what we usually do, we rebel them. We discard them. We do not like to listen to them. Okay, group discussion allows you to actually be accommodative to your team members. And your readiness for leadership skill. Readiness for leadership skill comes based on what kind of roles do you play while you are in a group discussion. Do you know there are around 5 to 6 roles that an individual can play while he is in a group discussion? And these roles are very, very important for us to understand. Okay. Parameter 3 is obviously the communication. Look at the communication weightage, the minimum most. And the maximum of that weightage goes to your listening skill and your body language. Right? Playing with hands, shaking legs, sliding under the chair, sleeping over the table. Remember, in a GD, the chair belongs to you. The table still belongs to them. You're not supposed to sit, lean on the table. Okay? And these are the things these are basically not your verbal communication. They are actually your non-verbal communication that matters the most. Okay. So the concepts in a summary is this, that content process is important. The quality of the content is important. The communication is important. The parameters of evaluation, we know the prep model we have just understood, right? Which actually brings the quality in the content. Now, what do people who are judging you look out for apart from the content and your behavior? They look at you performing not one of these roles, but they look at you performing all of these. Everyone who's conducting or who's assessing you in a group discussion is looking out for all these things in you as a candidate. Kya hai ye? We all know it's a professor, the salesman, the gatekeeper, the timekeeper, the butcher, and the spectator. Then we have the last, the passenger. Okay. Who's a professor? I know it all. Very good in content. Too much content. इतना knowledge है कि भाई सबको सिखा सकता है. वो प्रोफेसर को भी सिखा सकता है. लेकिन प्रॉब्लम क्या है? प्रॉब्लम ये है कि इतने सारे आइडिया हैं कि वो किसी और के नहीं सुनता. He is not ready to listen to others. He has content, good content, but he believes that only he has one. And that's the limitation of this professor. So you need to be a professor, but only for the strength side. Please understand, whatever roles we are talking about is you trying to be the strength side of the role and not on the limitation side. Understood? So read only the strength, don't read the limitations. Next is a salesman. A salesman is someone who's very good in selling anything to anyone. Very present, loves to make friends, keeps the ambience very, very friendly, talks a lot to people. But what's the weakness? That he himself doesn't have a concept or an idea. So which means that this guy cannot bring any fresh information into the discussion, which is dangerous. क्योंकि अगर तुम कुछ नया नहीं लाओगे, if you do not bring something new, people will start ignoring you. Okay? Please understand, in a discussion, people will only give importance to those who are giving ideas. बाकी लोगों को लोग ignore करने लग जाते हैं. ठीक है? So you cannot be taking the weakness into picture. You have to have the strength. Role seen in a GD: timekeeper. A timekeeper is again an important role because he, as a leadership skill, allows others to speak. He knows, he keeps the time in the group. So 10 minute ka GD hai, he knows 10 minute kab tak bajenge. Right? So he will ensure that there is time. He'll say that, okay, this is अगर उसको लग रहा है कि कोई बहुत ज्यादा टाइम ले रहा है डिस्कशन में, he will stop them there. He will try to involve others. So that's a timekeeper kind. Butcher. What we learned in our spelt, keyword analysis, and VAP. A butcher is a person who will break up the topic into pieces. The good part of it is when he breaks up the topic into pieces, he gets a lot of information out of it. And that brings a different angle together for the discussion. Okay? So you got to be a butcher because that's how you can break things, take pieces, and then bring information into it. Now, this guy is also very, very aggressive, which is good for us. But the problem is that sometimes he's too aggressive, which means he himself cannot control. And that can go back to us. Okay? So when you have a group which is of aggressive nature, you have to be aggressive to say, look, hey, look, stop. Why don't we give others a chance? But if you are becoming aggressive in a very silent, very good natured team, then that's a negative point for you. Okay, someone message saying, what is VAP? VAP is a viewpoint of affected parties. Okay, how the parties which has been affected, what is their point of view? Okay, that's a butcher. Then we have a gatekeeper. Gatekeeper will ensure that, okay, look, why don't someone is silent. Silent in the sense they want to talk, but they are not getting a chance to talk. So a gatekeeper will say, okay, why don't we stop talking? Why don't we allow this person to, probably Kritika has something to say. Why don't we allow her to speak? Or Gaurav has something to say. Why don't we allow her to speak? Kind of a thing. Okay. So that's a gatekeeper. But the problem with that person is he's only going to look into others. He doesn't want to add anything from himself. That cannot be what you want. You want to have only the strengths. Spectator is the best person for his advantage, strength.
Sir.
Okay.
Sir, I'm audible to you.
Ha, Gaurav, bolo.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. I think we have to conclude the session, and we will do tomorrow as well.
Okay, I'll just finish this then. 1 minute लगेगा गौरव.
Okay, no problem.
हाँ, 1 ही मिनट लगेगा. अनुष्का पूरी तैयार है निकलने के लिए. 1 मिनट लगेगा, रुको.
Okay.
Right. So the spectator, the strength is that the spectator is a very good listener. And trust me, when you are up the ladder of a corporate world, the biggest asset you can carry is being a good listener. You might have driven thousands and thousands of people under you. Okay. But if you do not have a good listening skill, then it's a problem. Okay. All right. So we are going to stop here. So you know the secret that we are talking about, mobility across the rules. We will come back again probably in the next session that Gaurav is going to talk about. Gaurav.
Yes, sir.
There is a student trying to join. His name itself is given as student. Please have a control on it. Okay.
Okay.
I'll connect to you outside the call.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I'm done. Is there any query, any question that people want to ask? You can ask. Otherwise, we'll catch up tomorrow. You can list down all your questions and keep it ready. We will start with Q&A. Yes, Bagmi.
Sir, you said if people are shy, we should make them involved in GD. So how can we make them involved? I want to know that process.
ये सारे FAQs कल होंगे.
Okay, sir.
Okay, ये लिख के रखना लेकिन. Keep it,
Okay.
write it and keep it.
Okay, sir.
Right. For what we have done today, is there anything that you want to ask? About talking in GD, about should I start the GD, about how should I conclude, how should I enter, when should I enter, right? As Bagmi asked, how do I know whether this person is shy, wants to speak, how can I invite them? These are all we are going to talk tomorrow. But for what we have spoken today, do you have any question? Yes, Pratiksha, do you have some?
No, sir.
Achha,
Sir, I wanted to ask, hello?
Yes, Niharika, please tell me.
See, I wanted to ask, how can one be like really polite and not dominating while talking? Because sometimes we find ourselves very dominating while talking. So it is a limitation, right? So how can one have a control on it?
It is.
Yeah, Niharika, sorry to interrupt you.
Niharika,
Ananth,
write down this question. We'll connect tomorrow.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
have a class tomorrow. I'm getting messages and calls. So if you guys want to more about the group discussion and personal interview classes, please connect to us through our WhatsApp or Instagram or YouTube and our personal number as well. I'm just writing the number and you can contact Mr. Krishna, Nand Singh or me, Gaurav Kumar, and I'll update you on that and you can join. I'm just writing the number on the chat box. You can contact us. The mobile number is 9972046911. That's Krishna sir's number. His name is Krishna Nand Singh. And the another number you can contact, that's 7411523845. That's my number, Gaurav Kumar. You can contact me and we will update you the other courses details and you can join for the paid GDPI course for MFM, MFTech and MDEC. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Ananth sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy
Thank you,
your
sir.
evening.